Good, good. The saga is now complete, and the saga of Skywalker has finally come to an end. What's going on, guys? This is Crazy Ken here, and I hope you guys enjoyed my Emperor Palpatine voice. I've been trying to, work on that for a while and everything. But anyway, I'm not here to pretty much try to throw my voice and pretty much try to update my acting skills. I'm pretty sure I got all the skills down pat. No, today we're going to be talking about the Star Wars film, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I have already seen this movie tonight, and I'm not going to lie, before going into it, I've seen a lot of mixed reactions from it. I've seen the fans are basically cheering and pretty much overjoyed that this is the final film in the Skywalker Saga, and they pretty much said that this film pretty much has brought this entire legacy to a complete close, and they are pretty much fulfilled with it. And also, I looking at this from the critics' perspective, and they're basically saying that this was nothing more but a cheap way to pretty much use nostalgia to pretty much try to get people to see the film. Me, honestly, I kind of go with the fans on this one. This has been a long time coming, and it was a lot of build up to it, and even though that the payoff wasn't all that great, at least it's not all that great compared to what I thought it was going to be, I still pretty much had a fun time, and I was enjoying the movie all throughout, beginning to end. I still thought that this was pretty much a good film, and there are some people on YouTube that pretty much made videos that are pretty much saying the same thing I'm saying. Although that Rise of Skywalker isn't as great as the last two films, or in this case, like, not as great as all the other Star Wars films that we've seen that lead up to this, and it kind of feels like a bad taste in your mouth. It's not as bad as I kind of thought it was going to be, at least. Like I said, going into movies, I pretty much keep a very medium expectation. I don't try to overhype the movie. I don't try to downplay the movie. I just go and see the movie to see it for myself. And the way I feel about this film is kind of like the same way I feel about Terminator, against everybody who said that movie was terrible. I still think that Rise of Skywalker is still a pretty decent film. And that's the whole reason I think that the critics didn't really like it at first, is because of the fact that this was more akin to the Star Wars fans, not to the critics or the people who are critical of the film or just wanted to go in to see a science fiction film. But I'm just speaking out of my own thoughts and everything. If you actually enjoyed the movie, great. If you didn't enjoy it, that's also fine too. But let me go ahead and get right into the summary of the film. So the whole thing about the film is that this is pretty much the final story within the saga of Skywalker. Like, everything from the prequel films to the original trilogy and to the Disney trilogy has led up to this moment. So to pretty much summarize, and this is going to be a lot of spoilers, Kylo Ren has pretty much found a secret place where Palpatine has pretty much this huge plan to where he was pretty much going to use it to take over the galaxy and whatnot. So he's pretty much telling Kylo, if you help me out, then I'll give you my own empire, and so on and so forth. So yeah, Palpatine's in the movie, therefore yeah, he's the big bad guy of this one. And I know a lot of people are asking the question, how can Palpatine be the main bad guy of the film if he's pretty much dead in Return of the Jedi? Well, as we already know from different sources, from different comic books, from different stories spanning before Disney took over the license, Palpatine is pretty much one of those characters that pretty much plans ahead with everything that happens. Even after his own death, he still plans ahead with a lot of fail-safes, with a lot of different contingencies, a lot of different planning. This guy is pretty much like the mastermind, and he knows how to manipulate certain events to his advantage. I mean, this is the same guy who started a long Clone Wars just so he could keep himself in office, so that way he could strike against the Jedi once he has a new apprentice that was Darth Vader. So Palpatine is pretty much not still still alive and everything. And now the Resistance are pretty much trying their best to find him just so they can put it into the whole thing. Rey's still continuing her training as a Jedi while she's pretty much trying to fight Kylo Ren and everything. You see all the cast. You see Rey, you see Finn, you see Poe. And honestly, I kind of enjoy this movie the more I see it. Not just with the characters and their banter, but with the action is great. The characters are great. And then they keep adding new characters in there that kind of is like, oh, okay, so we got a new character, that's great. And then we got a new droid, that's great. So it's kind of like this movie is kind of like the same as the last two movies. It keeps throwing a lot of stuff at you, and it keeps throwing a lot of twists and a lot of different things in there that you don't even see coming, but you still enjoy seeing the movie the more and more that you watch it. And it's definitely an awesome time. But yeah, it's basically one of those type of movies. Now I'm not gonna go into the whole plot of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and just point out some of the things that a lot of people have been saying. Yes, this movie relies heavily on nostalgia, but honestly, I don't see a problem with it. I think it's perfect for this film. This is the final Star Wars saga film that has everything to do with the Skywalkers. Basically, this is the final Skywalker story that is being told. This is the official last story of the Skywalker trilogy, or the saga. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my words out, and I'm trying to reiterate this because of the fact that people have forgotten that Star Wars has spanned since the 70s, and we've been retelling the same stories over and over and over again. So this is pretty much the final chapter within this, and I have to reiterate this because yes, the movie uses a lot of nostalgic elements. It uses like nostalgia from the classic trilogies. It uses nostalgia from like certain characters from the past and everything like that. That's the whole point of the movie. This is a big celebration that leads up to the grand finale. You know, like when you've been watching a certain TV show for the longest time now, and then when you finally get to the last episode, it pretty much throws a lot of nostalgic moments that you had with that TV show coming up to it. That's basically how this feels. This feels like it's a huge nostalgic type of look back for the fans of the entire saga. Like, we've been here for the longest time, and here we are now pretty much seeing this to the end, and this is like the final chapter within this. And I love it. I love the characters. I love every single moment of it. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that says that Disney is pretty much not the best when it comes to making these Star Wars stories, but I still enjoyed this movie for what it is. It's a Star Wars film that's pretty much trying to give the fans something to remember, to talk about and everything. And I'm not gonna lie, I did see a couple of fans walk out of this movie expressing a bit of disappointment about it because the payoff wasn't all that great. But honestly, I think the one thing that pretty much got me hooked into this film was the mind-blowing moments, like the big secrets that are pretty much like thrown into your face. Like, we finally figured out who's Rey's parents, or in this case, who she related to. We finally figured out more about Leia and Luke's relationship. We figured out more about the secrets of the Sith, or in this case, the secrets of Palpatine and everything. It's like, the way I can describe it is that it answers a lot of questions, but at the same time, it still leaves a lot of answers that are in mystery. You know what I'm saying? It answers a lot of questions, but it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. So that's where my biggest gripe with the movie is, because there's still a lot of things that it could use explaining. And I think Watch Mojo pretty much made a top 10 list about that. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave it down in the description below. But I just felt like it could have been a lot more than what we got. Like, that's my whole gripe. You know how, like, when you pretty much seen Return of the Jedi, and it was like the entire trilogy has built up to this one moment? I felt like it could have been like that, but it wasn't like that at all. It just felt like it was just like, okay, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Oh yeah, remember this, remember this, remember this. Okay, there you go. Now, continuing on with the story. It's like, it doesn't really build off as much. It just shows you all these nostalgic things, and then it's like, okay, and this is what happened. It's after that. Like, this nostalgia thing gives way to what's going to happen later on right here. And it just doesn't build off of it. You know what I'm saying? You remember how, like, when you went to see Revenge of the Sith, and it's like before then you see all the times where Anakin and Obi-Wan have pretty much like been fighting side by side. It was the master, it was the student, and it was like them growing and bonding over this. Even in the Clone Wars series, it pretty much showed you just how much this friendship was pretty much a strong bond and everything. And then when it got around to the ending of Revenge of the Sith, it's two friends like literally going at it with each other, trying to kill one another. What I'm trying to say is that when you look at all the different trilogies, it had a build up and a payoff that pretty much satisfy you. Even if people pretty much didn't like the prequel films, you can't say that the build up with the prequel films pretty much build up to the climax to where everything comes in a full circle. Same thing with the original trilogy. It started from somewhere and it kept on building until everything came to a full circle. But this film, I just felt like it just relied too much on the nostalgia of the original trilogy, and it just didn't really try to use the other films before it to build off of that. And that's kind of like, it's kind of disappointing actually. And then you see a lot of other characters just get axed off and everything, and it's just really, really sad and everything. Some of the deaths are pretty much warranted. Other deaths, they just felt like they hit you right in the face, and you're just like, really? It's kind of like, and it's not even just the deaths. It's even some of the action sequences and some of the like the big reveals and everything. It just comes out of nowhere and it hits you like a truck, and it doesn't give you enough time to prepare for that. Like in some cases, like, you know, the film pretty much finally tells us whose Rey's parents actually are, and it's taken like 2 films to build up to that, and that's understandable. But then when it comes right down to it, when a character gets axed off out of nowhere, like here's a spoiler, General Hux. Like, you've seen General Hux become one of the most menacing figures in Star Wars since The Force Awakens, and then next thing you know, he gets axed off like literally like not even like halfway throughout the movie. Like, he just gets blasted, and then damn. It's kind of like the same with Captain Phasma in the last 2 movies. Like, Captain Phasma was pretty much built up to be this huge, bulking, menacing First Order trooper, and she's supposed to command the First Order elite, the First Order troops and everything. She's supposed to be this badass woman that's supposed to be like a big, scary presence within the First Order stormtroopers. But then it's like in the first movie, she didn't really do much of anything. They just dropped her in the trash compactor. And then in the second movie, The Last Jedi, when you feel like she's gonna do something, then she winds up getting axed off and killed just like that. I just feel like that Disney pretty much do certain things like that on purpose. And I know I'm pretty much rambling about this, and I feel like Disney pretty much do things like this on purpose, especially in this film, because it's like it's trying to build up more context to where it pretty much is telling the fans, if you want to learn more about this, you're gonna have to go ahead and read the books and the comics in order to get more of an understanding about this. Like, we're not here to pretty much teach you, we're here to pretty much like show you a film and everything, and that's all we're pretty much going to do. If you want to learn more about it, just read the Kylo Ren comics, read the Darth Vader comics, read something in order to get like a good context on. And that's kind of like unfair because of the fact that maybe I'm rambling at this point. Maybe I don't get what Disney's trying to do. And if you guys agree with me, cool. If I'm not understanding it, please leave it down in the comments below and let me know. But I'm starting to feel like Disney pretty much wants us to pretty much do the research on our own to understand more about these films as we watch them and everything. And even up to this point where it's supposed to be a celebration of the Skywalker Saga coming to a complete close, it just felt like that you have to read up a bit more to get some of the answers off of that. But I know a lot of people that don't really read Star Wars books. I do most of the time, other people don't. But you know, you're gonna have to read that to get some context off of it, and it's kind of sucky. So yeah, that was all of my pet peeves. So let me go ahead and get into the things that pretty much made me like the film. I love the action. I don't care what y'all say about Disney. Disney, when it comes to Star Wars, they know how to pretty much pull off a ton of good action stuff. Like, it's nothing but action, just hit. It's just nothing but action all throughout the screen. And I pretty much love the fact that my favorite one was when they were in the desert and they were like, they fly now. they fly now.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now? They fly now!
Yeah, I know that was pretty much a meme for the internet for like the entire week, but that's still my favorite scene when they were pretty much just fighting in the desert and everything. And another favorite scene of mine was like the final battle, and I can't go into the detail, but it's like a whole dozen like Imperial starships pretty much like against all the odds of the rebellion and everything, and you're sitting there trying to figure out, oh my god, how they're gonna get out of this one, how they're gonna win against like these odds and everything. And then just out of nowhere it just surprises you, and it's like, oh, so that's what they're gonna do, oh, so that's what they have. It's just the action is just what keeps me going, even up to the final fight with I can't even say anymore. Even up to the final lightsaber fight is pretty much fun and everything, and it's really, really enjoyable. I can't really say anything about the Rey versus Kylo Ren on that raiding planet and everything. It just wasn't that much depth to it, and it didn't do anything for me. It was kind of like a lightsaber fight where it's like, it didn't even feel like a fight. Like, am I the only one to think that? Like, do you remember like in the original prequel that even though that people hated the film for its dialogue and so on, that everybody loved the action and everything? It's like the prequels, when it comes to the choreographed action, and this is my gripe with the entire Disney trilogy, when it comes to the choreographed action, it's kind of like a big step forward from what was available back in the 70s, because it was like them just swinging a baton. But in the prequels, it was like an actual laser sword that could cut you, and they're pretty much using a lot of skill and flipping and choreographing in order to pretty much like actually show up some good sword play and everything. Here, it's like, well, it's kind of like two 5-year-olds pretty much picking up lightsabers from a target, and then they're pretty much fighting each other. That's basically how I feel about the fight between Kylo Ren and Rey. It just felt like two kids pretty much picking up lightsabers or sticks, and they're just going, yeah, 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 yeah. I just sat there like, is this actual lightsaber fighting, or is this a high school play? That's what I was thinking of. But other than that little nitpick there, I love the action and I love the characters. Poe is always great. It doesn't matter what you say, Poe is always great in anything that he's in, and I pretty much enjoy him for that one. It doesn't even matter if there's a Star Wars movie and Poe's not in it. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get as much entertainment like I do when he's on the screen. And then there's Finn's back in there, and Rose from The Last Jedi, she's in there, just not all that much. She barely does anything in this movie, at least until like the final battle. You barely even see her anymore. This whole thing is basically like Rey, Finn, Poe, and Kylo Ren. That's basically the main players here, and then Palpatine when it gets to the end of the film. It's just everybody else just doesn't really do much of anything. Well, except for Princess Leia. Princess Leia has a really, really big role to play. I can't tell you. All I know is that it's a real tearjerker when you see it. It literally almost made me cry. It was that bad. I'm still almost about to cry. And it was a good send off to Carrie Fisher's character, and I love it. I really, really do. But anyway, as far as I can say, The Rise of Skywalker, it wasn't something that I was expecting, but at the same time, it was still an entertaining, fun ride. I enjoyed it. My friend Rena, who I took with me, she enjoyed it, because we're both huge Star Wars fans. Like, we grew up on Star Wars, so this was like a huge treat for us. So yeah, it wasn't really a big send-off, but at the same time, it wasn't something that left us empty. You get what I'm saying? Like, it still had everything to where it pretty much said thank you for being a fan for this long and for being with us for this long. It was kind of like a thank you note, and I love every single moment of it. I guess the reason why the critics didn't like it all that much and why they keep saying that it was nostalgic is because I don't think they understand that this is Disney pretty much saying thank you for being a part of the Skywalker legacy, because this isn't just a legacy that's built around the Skywalkers themselves. This is a legacy that's built around the Star Wars fandom altogether, because there's fans, young and old, grandparents, parents, kids that pretty much grew up on Star Wars, and then as the years go by, they pass on that love to their kids, and then the kids, they'll pretty much give that love to their kids. This is not just something that is pretty much based around the films and everything. This is a generation after generation of the same franchise that's pretty much kept us all coming together. Like, I've met so many friends who are huge fans of Star Wars, so many fans who are huge fans of Star Trek, like anything of that science fiction or geek or gamer culture. It doesn't even matter. If it wasn't for Star Wars, I wouldn't be meeting a lot of people and getting together with so many people as well. It's kind of like being part of a huge family, and this is basically Disney pretty much saying thank you so much for being a part of that family. At least that's what I got out of it. I don't know, maybe some other people got something else out of it. I don't really know, but all I can say is that, in honest opinion, I would probably give The Rise of Skywalker a 7 out of 10. It pretty much had a lot going for it. The action was great. It kept me on my seat, at the edge of my seat, actually. It kept me on the edge of my seat for the longest time and everything. But when it comes right down to it, I felt like the payoff wasn't really as much to pretty much look forward to. But it was still a fun ride. And if there are any people out there that pretty much like hate on it and everything, and if you're gonna take their word for it, then the best thing I could do is just wait for it to come out on DVD or get it out of the red box. That's all I can say. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun time. I'm glad I pretty much went to see this movie. It was a fantastic joyride, and I hope, and I really hope, that if Disney decides to do more projects with the Star Wars brand, I'm still pretty much like excited on where they're gonna go from this. Like, you already ended the saga, so where's it gonna go from here? What are you gonna do with this? Are you gonna go back and pretty much tell some untold stories like Kenobi maybe? Are they gonna be doing Darth Maul? What are they gonna do? Is there gonna be more Star Wars projects for the Disney Plus? Are they gonna make more for the movies? I don't even know. But all I know is that with the end of the saga, it makes me more excited to see what Disney has up their sleeve. And that's all I can say. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I talked a lot longer than I thought I did, but that's how much I actually enjoy this movie. I actually love this movie. It's not a movie that I would probably go and see again, but it's definitely a movie that I can pretty much say that I'm probably gonna remember it for months on end until the DVD comes out. But anyway, guys, if you've seen Rise of Skywalker, what did you think about it? Do you think that this is a good send-off to the Skywalker Saga, or do you think it's pretty much another disappointment that Disney pretty much like spat in our faces once again? But anyway, be sure to leave a comment down below telling me what you think about the film, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, again, leave it down in the comments below. Also, don't forget, if you like this video, be sure to like it, and be sure to share it, because sharing it will pretty much help my channel a great deal. Also, be sure to pretty much hit the subscribe button, so that way you could stay up to date with my videos and everything. I'm gonna try and pretty much see a lot more movies, so I can go ahead and pretty much give you guys my 2 cents on this. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll see you guys later, and remember, may the Force be with you. Take care, guys. Later.
Come to the dark side.